So, speaking of Trump,
event, and is standing right next to him.
Speaking of Trump, some of the big news in Trump world is that Tucker Carlson has apologized for endorsing Trump for president. Now, I have some thoughts on this. And namely, my thought is before everybody goes rushing to praise Tucker Carlson, may I pause and say, fuck Tucker Carlson. Here's the thing. Tucker Carlson has never not been an opportunist. Tucker Carlson is reading the tea leaves. He sees the fracturing in MAGA. He sees Donald Trump spiraling more and more. And he reads the writing on the wall. He is making his moves. Don't forget that Tucker Carlson in 2021 privately told people how much he fucking hated Donald Trump, still supported him in 2024. Okay, this is not Tucker Carlson supported Donald Trump just in 2016. Tucker Carlson supported him, joined him on the 2024 campaign trail. And at the RNC last year, he called Trump's surviving the assassination attempt, he called it divine intervention. Kyle actually has a good video on this.
All right, y'all. So it's...
Oh my God, that is so loud. Hold on a second. All right, let's see.
All right, y'all. So it's happening, bro. It's happening. What?
Sorry, I thought I turned down the volume, but I guess not. All right, let's check out everybody's dark woke king.
I've been saying for the longest time, I said, like, look, if you want me to even begin to take you seriously and you're somebody who was dick riding MAGA and supporting MAGA and hopping on the bandwagon, at the very least, you got to apologize. You got to apologize and be like, my bad, I fucked up. Shouldn't have done that. I've been conned. I've been had. I've been took. I've been bamboozled. If you say that and you sprinkle on top a little bit of, like, obviously Kamala would have been better, then we're getting somewhere. Then we're getting to a point where it's like you can begin to heal, have a conversation, open up the lines of communication, and sort of my whole thing is you want to come in the tent, welcome in the tent, but get to the back of the motherfucking line, right? Like,
I guess it depends on who we're talking about. Are we talking about voters? Are we talking about just everyday people who are coming to terms with the fact that they were bamboozled, that they maybe voted for Obama in the past or whatever else, whatever led them to Trump? Yeah. Are we talking about that, or are we talking about people who were in significant positions of influence and power?
It was bad enough that you fucked this bitch up in the first place, so you can be with us, but sort of know your role. Know your role and shut your mouth, as The Rock used to say, right? That's been my whole spiel on this. But I have to say, as time goes by, I think I was too kind. I think I'm being too kind by being that open-minded and that open-hearted. Because some of this I really think is just grifting. And some of this is shifting with the vibes, because the vibes are so overwhelming that to save your ass, you have no choice.
Tucker is not going to vote for Democrats. Please. I have been trying to say this from the beginning, and I get that, like, when Tucker Carlson appeared to start turning on MAGA, not everyone, I'm exaggerating. A lot of people were like, Tucker Carlson, welcome to the resistance. Welcome to the revolution. Tucker Carlson is never going to be a leftist. This man is a white supremacist. This man is right wing. He is never going to be an ally. He is never going to be on the team. He is never going to be out here, like, working against the system, because he loves the system. All right. He wants the system to even be more violent than it is already. It's just there are certain things that he is splitting from Trump and MAGA on, while still being careful to not totally separate himself from the base, because he may come to need the base if he runs for office or whatever his goals are here.
To turn on Trump. You understand what I'm saying? So, with that being said, here we have Tucker Carlson, and this appears to be an apology, where he's like, man, I should not have pushed Trump, and I'm going to have to live with this the rest of my life type shit. So let's listen, and then we'll break it down further. Here we go.
Looking back, because, I mean, you and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like, in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So,
Well, okay, sure, millions of people voted for Trump, which I'm not saying that's great, but there is a difference between Tucker Carlson and some farmer in Wisconsin.
I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences.
Tucker Carlson has not been a normal citizen for decades now. Let's not forget this man's rise on Fox News. He was one of the most virulent racists who was spreading white supremacist ideology to millions of Americans in this country for a long time.
We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. And it was not intentional. That's all I'll say. But anyway, but the question does present itself immediately. Like, what is this? Was this always the plan? You don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but like clearly there were signs of low character. We knew that.
Yes.
So he's basically like, hey, dog, I fucked up. My bad. Trump's horrible. Trump's worse than I expected. He's committing war crimes. You got to fill in the blank with whatever. But he's like, I'm sorry. He's saying, I'm sorry, right? Now, again, at face value, I hear this and I go, good. If somebody says that, and then they also come out and say, I think Kamala would have been better. Okay. All right. I'm willing to listen to you now in a way that I wasn't before. However, having said that, shout out to Jim Stewartson because he makes this point. After being fired from Fox, Tucker was funded with $20 million by the Mercers, who have been bankrolling Peter Thiel for over a decade. J.D. Vance is Peter Thiel's personal android. They're trying to take Trump out. So what's the ulterior motive here? I think the motive,
Also,
in a very simple and straightforward way, is
Also, I'll let him finish.
yes, they've turned on Trump, but ultimately what they want is J.D. Vance to be president. And you need to ask yourself,
Yeah, they are positioning themselves to take power here. Don't forget that that Tucker Carlson in 1999 referred to Trump as the single most repulsive person on the planet. This was 17 years before he ran for president that Tucker Carlson was talking shit on Donald Trump. Supported him in 2016, was one of the first to support him, was one of the first to see the writing on the wall that Trump should be taken seriously because he was speaking to people in a very specific way and was gaining a lot of supporters, diehard supporters. So just as Vance was against Trump. Exactly. So make no mistake, J.D. Vance, now not at this moment because he's the vice president, but there is a world where he also pulls back from Donald Trump when the time is right, that he joins in with a Tucker Carlson potentially. So I just think that when you look at the timeline here of decades now that Tucker Carlson has said something about Donald Trump and then supported him, it's always, and now is turned against him. He doesn't do anything without knowing that, without the intended goal of it being to his benefit.
what good is the apology? What good is the mea culpa? What good is like all the anti-war talk? If at the end of the day, they're just going to try to take this energy and redirect it into supporting J.D. Vance, who's just as guilty as Donald Trump. I don't want to hear with, he's the actual populist right one. He's the actual anti-war one. My ass cheeks. No, if you were bamboozled by Trump, you will also be bamboozled by J.D. Vance because he is none of those things. No, he is a fucking tool of Peter Thiel and the AI demons. And when he gets in there, what's he going to do? The same thing as every Republican president if he gets in there, right? He's going to cut taxes for the rich, support the Epstein class, continue the military-industrial complex, warmonger like nobody's fucking business. And so if you're going to apologize for supporting Trump and your move is ultimately to just I'm going to back J.D. Vance. And even if, what is this for? Are you just going to, the second 2028 comes around, you're just going to go, oh, great, I support J.D. Vance. Because I fear that's what's going to happen. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very, very critical of Trump, but she's also stopped to give J.D. Vance a lot of credit and pretend like he's sort of this.
Yeah, there was also a lot of framing around the Iran negotiations because Iran would not would not talk with Trump after he said that he was going to wipe out their civilization. There's a lot of framing that made it seem as if JD Vance, some stellar negotiator here, took over the negotiations, and he along with all the other parties involved managed to secure the ceasefire deal. And when I saw that, I was like, oh no, this feels like it's all falling into place. It's falling into place that people are like, JD supports Trump because he's his vice president, but he's actually trying to do damage control behind the scenes because he's smarter and more brilliant of a strategist and would be a better president. So he should be the president.
Solution. That's fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. And so that's why it's hard to take this seriously, because it's like, okay, are you doing?
Sorry, I'm late to this. Did you see Kylie Chung's interview on Left Reckoning about the pink pill? I haven't, but I will go check that out. But I am having Kylie on next week to talk about pink pilling.
This, and then all of a sudden you're going to support fucking Abdul El Sayed? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to go out there and support Graham Plattner or Abdul El Sayed or any of the...
I would not rule out Tucker Carlson running for president. I think there's a couple of potential camps here. And I think one of those is the Tucker Carlson wing of the conservative party in this country.
Left-wing candidates running across the country, right? Are you going to go out there and support... are you going to be a Bernie Sanders style person now? If you did that, but that's not what they're going to do. They're going to take all this energy. They're going to harness it to be anti-Trump, but be pro JD Vance or pro.
Even if he doesn't run, he'll lend his credibility to someone.
The next fucking slop Republican that gets served up on a silver platter by Wall Street and the military-industrial complex and the AI tech demons. Okay, and you know what immediately came to mind?
Am I missing something? When people see Vance as a leader, frontrunner, GOP, I saw him as someone I would push down the playground. Because I think the idea is when Trump has to vacate the White House, there's still going to be the MAGA base. And what is it going to be? Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump? I don't think so. So JD, who has put himself in the vice president position, he is catering support from MAGA without being president yet. So the members of the MAGA base, the hogs who are getting pissed at Trump, right? Like the blame falls on the president. The vice president gets away with a lot more. So I think right now the field is not shaped up, so it's still pretty early. But I think people are seeing the split right now in MAGA world and in the larger Republic or conservative Republican umbrella. And the options are JD Vance, potentially Tucker Carlson, potentially you're going to see somebody who is trying to appeal to the MAGA base while not having Trump's baggage. So MAGA, the ones who are pissed off at Trump, ones who are mad that America First is not being realized, who are pissed about Trump's very cozy relationship with Israel and feeling like Israel owns Trump and all that. They are going to be looking for somebody who is going to make it clear that they are not owned by Israel while not losing the MAGA energy.
When I heard Tucker do this, remember this? There was a big story that came out. It was in the New York Times, I believe, about how
MAGA
you have the lawsuit
the
that was happening because of Dominion.
Maybe Cenk as running mate. The concept of Tucker Carlson and Cenk as running mates, which frankly is not super out of the question as far as would Cenk be willing.
Was suing Fox for lying about the 2020 election. And
The
we had a
independent
lot of their
ticket.
internal correspondence of the host leaked. And in those correspondence, we had text messages from Tucker where he was talking to somebody and he said this, quote, "We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait." And then he said, "I hate him passionately."
Yeah.
And this was a theme.
This is what I was referring to in 2021 when it came out that Tucker Carlson was talking shit on Trump and fucking hates him as he always has, but of course then supported him again.
With his text messages. He fucking despises Trump. He hates Trump. He's annoyed to no end by Donald Trump. Okay? And he said this in January of 2021. In other words, Tucker knew about the flaws. Tucker knew this guy was a con man and a bullshitter. Tucker knew he was lying about the 2020 election. Tucker knew all of that. And what did he do? He still backed Trump in 2024.
This has been 27 years of this. 27 years of Tucker Carlson saying Donald Trump is reprehensible, that he is a piece of shit, and then supporting him the 3 times that he ran for president.
Okay? So I don't trust you when you just I'm sorry about the Trump thing. I don't trust you in the same way that Pete Kegsbreath, the Secretary of War Crimes, he was on a podcast before he became the Secretary of War Crimes, and he said, I'm a recovering neocon. It was so wrong of me to think the U.S. military could go around the world and solve all these problems and do all these wars, and we'd be better off for it. He gave a whole spiel about how neoconservatism is bad, being a warmonger is bad. I'm a recovering neocon. I supported the Iraq War. I shouldn't have done that, et cetera, et cetera. Now, he's Secretary of War Crimes. He was the loudest voice in the room calling for war. The loudest voice in the room supporting the illegal attacks against an innocent country that didn't attack us. And now we're triple tapping girls' schools and bombing hospitals and bombing bridges and doing all sorts of horrific Nazi-like atrocities. So, in other words, he said the right things. He sounded like he was better on the issue, and all of a sudden gets a little taste of power, goes right back to those old tricks.
Also, the way that Tucker Carlson and his brother framed this on the podcast is that they feel betrayed. That it's smart because it's not splitting from Trump on the issues that are important to MAGA. Again, Tucker is not trying to alienate the MAGA base, but it is saying that you feel betrayed by this person that you supported in the past because they're not putting America first. And it's pandering to the people who feel betrayed. And a lot of the comments on the YouTube video were people saying that they felt betrayed. Here's some of the comments. Dude, me too. When I heard him say, "Are we still talking about Epstein?" That's when I knew we'd been betrayed. When he attacked his own supporters for wanting the release of the Epstein files, calling it a bullshit hoax, I knew we were cooked. Yep, betrayed. I'm pretty mad at myself for being fooled. I voted for Trump. I'm never voting again. I have no words for how unfortunate this has become. I also feel betrayed and duped. It's almost embarrassing. Since Cenk isn't eligible, oh yeah, Tucker Carlson would run with Anna as running mate. She likes him more than Cenk does. Oh God. Zua USA, thank you for the bits. Space Tomato, thank you for the 3 months.
And supports all the wrong things. And so when I hear this,
meanwhile,
that's
they
immediately what
support
comes
ICE
to mind.
And all the other
is
cruelty.
like,
Yes.
we've been down this road before.
Tucker Carlson was one of the main people pushing the great replacement theory on Fox News, the most popular cable news show. Millions and millions of brains that he helped totally fucking fry. A lot of your parents who are so lost in the muck, who you have been unable, parents and grandparents, aunts, uncles, family members of yours, older family members of yours, who have soup for brains now. And a big reason is because of Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson ruined your parents. Tucker Carlson spoke to your dad, and now your dad is out here being like, white people are being replaced.
And by the way, how do we not know that, let's say Trump decides tomorrow, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to cut and run, cut my losses, get out of Dodge, pulls out, declares victory or some shit, then goes right back to doing a lot of the other shit that these guys love, right? Like cracking down on trans people, for example, ramping up the mass deportations. How do I know that he's not going to be right back on Trump's nuts in 7 minutes, right? He almost certainly will be in that scenario because this is what these people do. I remember Alex Jones crying on air in Trump's first term, going, he bombed Syria. He bombed Syria. It was so bad. He was doing so good, but then he ruined it all by doing this. How could he let us down like this? Crying over the betrayal of bombing Syria in the first term. He was back to riding Trump's nuts in 2024 like that never motherfucking happened. Okay? So that's why I'm skeptical. That's why I pump the brakes. That's why I'm very slow to give these right-wing cretins and demons any credit whatsoever. Because it's hard to fucking believe them. Now, by the same token, I've also said on the show, look, I supported it and I liked it when Dave Smith came out, and Dave Smith also kind of was like, look, I'm sorry for supporting Trump, but more importantly than that, he said, I actually think Kamala would have been better, given what Trump is doing now. And I hear that, I'm like, based. Credit to him. That's awesome. However, what happened during Trump's first term? Well, here's a guy by the name of Dave Smith, and you can see here why I continue, and many people continue to be skeptical, because he did this before. I'm going to criticize him. I'm done.
There are so many people who've been jumping off the Trump train right now because they have sensed things turning. All these goddamn podcast bros, the Andrew Schultzes, all these fuckers who, they all played a role in this. They're all opportunistic grifters with no morals, no principles. Now, I will say the difference with a Tucker Carlson and an Andrew Schultz is Andrew Schultz is in it for, he's in it for the views, right? He's in it for his career as a comedian. Guess that's what he says he does. Tim Dillon, all of them. Tucker, I think he is really in it for power. He is looking at the impending vacuum on the right wing side and seeing how he can seize power in this moment.
With him, it's over. And
he has an ideological agenda. Yes, he is ideologically motivated.
Yep, I'm back on the Trump train, but I disagree, and he's a war criminal. But I am back on the Trump train, though. So really what this all stems from, Tucker has it, Dave has it, a lot of people have it. They have,
and there's a lot of people. You know how people will say, man, I miss the days of John McCain. Man, I'm nostalgic for George Bush. Because Donald Trump is such an openly deranged psychopath. He is the epitome of corruption at its fullest. It has made people, he's like totally mask off all the way. It has made people nostalgic for Bush, for McCain, for fucking Mitt Romney. And so I can see this return to common sense conservatism that is also still mixed with MAGA speak, America first, secure borders, keep trans people out of bathrooms, men out of women's sports.
leftist derangement syndrome and liberal derangement syndrome and Democrat derangement syndrome. And it's like, you may keep breaking up with Trump and getting back with him, but what you don't consider really is actually supporting left wing.
I mean, that's also the Democrat strategy. They're like, we need to return to common sense in this country, decency. Now, of course, they're messaging different from conservatives, but that's what they have for 10 years now run on Orange Man bad. We need to return to the way things were before because it was all good because we were civil, because we had decorum, because we were decent. And it's like, well, I'm not quite sure about that. I'm not quite sure that the status quo, returning to that, is a good thing here. I don't think that that's what people want. I think the reason Kamala Harris lost is because she's like, yeah, you're going to get Biden again. It's just going to be more of that. But I'm not Donald Trump.
So listen to what he said back in the day.
And you know what? That's what fucking led to Donald Trump in the first place. Donald Trump is a symptom. Donald Trump is a symptom. We want to go back to brunch. Exactly. If we get a Democrat back in office, then we can go back to brunch and we can all laugh about this insanity, this insane period of the last 10 years, and it'll all just be a bad dream, and we'll go back to the way that things were.
First term.
I would be very happy
There's not going to be a brunch, you stupid whore.
for to see Donald Trump impeached for the illegal, immoral, borderline war of genocide that he's been helping the Saudis conduct in Yemen. Even grading on a curve. He is a war criminal who deserves to be tried and buried under the prison, just with right alongside Barack Obama and George W. Bush and John McCain and all the rest of them. Let me just say this real quick. Donald Trump should be in prison for war crimes for what he did to the people of Yemen. How's that for taking on the right?
But I think I might vote for Trump.
He should be impeached and removed for this one.
He backed Netanyahu as he completed his fucking genocide in Gaza, backed him to destroy the whole fucking place. He bombed the Houthis, he bombed Iran, he bombed Venezuela, killed a whole bunch of people in boats. So that's his actual track record here.
Even grading on a curve. He is a war criminal who deserves to be tried and buried under the prison.
I had the same experience in Trump's first 4 years. I mean, it was a little bit different, I guess, because I supported him this time, and I hadn't the first time.
So that's why people are skeptical, right? It's like, he's a war criminal, bury him under the prison. But I'm going to support him. I'm going to go ahead and support him.
Bro stands for nothing.
Look, but here's the good news.
No, bro stands for himself. Bro stands for himself.
The good news is, it doesn't matter what I say. Like, what I say is totally irrelevant. What you guys say is totally irrelevant. If these people have truly had an enlightenment moment and have awakened to the horrors of Trump and MAGA and the right more broadly, if that's truly the case, then they will just continue to say the right things and do the right things.
Bro stands for money.
But if my skepticism is merited, then at some point they won't. They'll have a relapse and go right back into shitty, authoritarian, horrific politics. And so we'll all find out together here. But what I say has no bearing on this. It's not like no serious person is going to look at people like me and go, well, since he's mean to me, I'm going to go back on the Trump train. Since he's mean to me, I'm going to vote Republican again. No, because what you realize is, who cares if somebody's an asshole? That doesn't mean anything. The bottom line is, we're murdering innocent little elementary school girls in Iran and triple tapping them, okay? We're bombing bridges. We're bombing hospitals. We're bombing steel plants. We're bombing pharmaceutical companies. We're destroying a civil society. We're backing a nation that's doing multiple genocides with our money and our weapons in our name. And so, obviously, somebody being an asshole should have no bearing on what your politics are. You should just go based off your principles and your values and have that lead you. I've often said this myself, but if the Pope of leftism was the worst person in the world and, assaulted me or something, I would still be a leftist, because it's about the ideas, it's about the issues, it's about the policies. Everybody on the left could scream.
Yeah, but when you have no real principles, when you have no real morals, then you are a leaf in the wind, going in which direction the wind is going. And all of these mouthpieces, they care about their own opportunities. They care about making money, and it drives me nuts that when one of them will go, oh, well, I can't believe that Trump is directing ICE to kidnap babies. Like, well, that's not super cool. That's not what I voted for. There are people who take that as a sign that these mouthpieces are having genuine moral changes when they're not. It's like Rogan, what it is that they want to ensure that they don't face consequences for participating in supporting fascism. That they don't want to, they want to have influence, obviously, because influence equals money and power, but they don't want that influence then to reflect on them being culpable, embracing the useful idiot role. So they're aware enough, obviously, that they were participants in this, continue to be participants, because they just flip-flop back and forth, especially Joe Rogan. It's like Joe Rogan will say one thing, and then on his podcast, he'll say the exact opposite thing like 5 minutes later. But they don't want the liability.
At me and yell at me and call me an asshole and call me every negative thing under the sun, and I wouldn't care. I would still vote left because that's correct, because the policies are correct and those reflect my values. So we'll find out. But understand something, guys. There is an industry here, right? And in this industry, these right-wing people, they view their role as, we are the right-wing people. Like you see Alex Jones, now he's criticizing Trump all the time, but if you pay close attention, he also says, I'd never vote for the Democrats. The Democrats are absolute demons, left-wingers are...
I mean, Alex Jones shouldn't even be in this fucking conversation, right? It's like nobody should take Alex Jones seriously ever. Not even, nothing. And even when Trump came after Alex Jones, the way he responded was still like, oh, I wish him well. You know, I'm praying for him.
Evil and they're terrible and they want the New World Order and globalism and...
Good night, Mr.
He
Sonic
goes on and on and
Jen.
on. Like, somehow he has the most scathing criticisms for left-wingers and liberals and Democrats, even today. Even when Trump committing war crime after war crime and clearly has Alzheimer's and severe dementia, Alex says he has severe dementia. And
No, I'm not saying that about Kyle bringing him up as an example here. I'm saying like in general, how we should treat Alex Jones. Speaking of which, is this him shirt? Was this the, oh wait, what the fuck?
Our child clowns are washed and diapered
Elon
daily.
Musk,
I know
please
child clown
help.
comes without face.
Extreme viewer discretion advised. The man hired by The Onion to take over InfoWars produced pro-pedophile child torture and murder shows for Adult Swim in conjunction with Will Ferrell, who took part in satanic rituals with spirit cooking high priestess Marina Abramovich. At Elon Musk, please help. Wow, he's greatly fallen off. This man has 4.4 million followers, 793 likes. That's why he's saying, Elon Musk, please help. Please help cook this. And to get views, to get likes, please push this in the algorithm, please.
Because the
he still shits on the Democrats harder, right? So they view their role
Please.
as, no, we are right-wing
Please
pundits, we
clap.
are right-wing commentators. And
Please help me get likes, please.
so even if they criticize Trump, at the end of the day, they will somehow jujitsu themselves back to supporting fucking J.D. Vance or supporting somebody else on the right. And so that's why you got to take this for what it's worth and take it with a grain of salt. The only reason to actually take this seriously and cover it and pump people up here is divide and conquer, right? Like, just heighten the fucking contradictions on the right, make the Civil War, add fuel to the fire of the right-wing Civil War by talking, pumping people up and talking about it. Oh, you're gonna let him get away with that shit? Like, that's the only reason you take this seriously. But
how the fuck has Alex Jones not had a heart attack? I
yeah,
don't
man.
know.
We're now adding to that list. There's now how many? 4 or so